3 in the morning, and I'm sitting in my garage with a half-empty bottle of beer, staring at our joint credit card statement. Jack Frawley, master mechanic, amateur detective, and apparently world-class fool. The numbers don't lie, even when your wife does. $250 at Romano's, the fancy Italian place downtown. Problem is, Lila told me she was working late that Tuesday, surviving on vending machine coffee and stale donuts. I take another sip and scroll through the charges on my phone. There's more. A lot more. Wine bars, boutique hotels, even a lingerie shop I've never heard of. All on nights when my devoted wife of 8 years was supposedly burning the midnight oil at Morrison & Associates, crafting brilliant advertising campaigns for toilet paper and breakfast cereal. The garage feels smaller tonight, cluttered with my tools and half-finished projects. This place used to be my sanctuary, where I could think clearly with my hands buried in an engine. Now it feels like a courtroom where I'm both judge and defendant, examining evidence of my own stupidity. My phone buzzes, a text from Lila. Still at office. Don't wait up. Big presentation tomorrow. I check the timestamp on the credit card charge. Romano's. Tonight. 30 minutes ago. The rational part of my brain, the part that methodically diagnoses engine problems and finds solutions, kicks into gear. I open her laptop, conveniently left charging on my workbench. We share passwords for everything. Shared accounts, shared trust, shared delusions about our marriage. Her email loads first. Nothing suspicious there, just work correspondence and spam. But then I remember she uses messaging apps for personal stuff. Her phone syncs to the laptop automatically. What I find makes my stomach clench like a fist. Messages with someone named Chad, dozens of them. The latest from 2 hours ago. Can't wait to see you tonight. Wear the red dress. I scroll up, my hands shaking slightly. Weeks of messages. Months, maybe. Plans for meetings, complaints about me, intimate details that make me want to throw the laptop against the wall. But I keep reading because now I need to know everything. Chad works at her agency. Chad thinks I'm a grease monkey with no ambition. Chad believes Lila deserves so much better than that garage rat. Chad has very specific opinions about what they should do in various hotel rooms around town. The garage door opener rumbles to life. Headlights sweep across the small windows. Lila's Honda Civic pulls into the driveway. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I close the laptop, slip the credit card statement into my toolbox, and take a long pull from my beer. The rationale part of my brain is still working, but now it's calculating something different. Not how to fix this marriage, how to make them both pay for breaking it. The side door opens, and Lila walks in, looking slightly disheveled. Her red dress, the one Chad mentioned, is wrinkled, her lipstick gone, her hair mussed in a way that 8 years of marriage has taught me to recognize. "Hey, honey," she says, forcing a smile. "What are you doing up?" "Couldn't sleep," I tell her, keeping my voice level. "How was the big presentation?" She blinks, momentarily confused. "Oh, that. It went, well, really well. I think we landed the account." "That's great," I say. "You must be exhausted. All that hard work." "Yeah, I'm wiped out." She moves toward the door leading into the house. "Coming to bed?" "In a few minutes. Just want to finish this beer and lock up." She nods and disappears inside. I hear her footsteps on the stairs, the bathroom faucet running, the bedroom door closing. I sit in the quiet garage for another hour, thinking, planning. The old Jack would have confronted her immediately, demanded explanations, probably ended up in a screaming match that solved nothing. But this new version, the one born tonight in this cluttered garage, has different ideas. By the time I head inside, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And it starts with Jenny, Lila's younger sister, who works at the coffee shop downtown and has always been a little too friendly when Lila isn't around. I pull out my phone and reactivate the dating app I deleted 2 years ago when Lila and I got serious about our future together. Apparently she never deleted hers. Time to level the playing field. Sunday dinner at the Hartwell house is a weekly tradition I've endured for 8 years. Lila's parents, Richard and Margaret, live in a sprawling colonial that screams old money and new judgment. They've never quite approved of their daughter marrying a mechanic, and they've never bothered hiding it. Tonight feels different, though. I'm not the same man who usually sits quietly while Richard pontificates about market trends and Margaret makes passive-aggressive comments about blue-collar limitations. Tonight, I have ammunition. "Jack's been so busy with his little garage lately," Margaret says, passing the roast beef with the enthusiasm of someone handling toxic waste. I suppose everyone needs their hobbies. It's actually my profession, Margaret, I reply, cutting my meat with surgical precision. You know, fixing the cars that get you places when they break down. Lila shoots me a warning look. She's wearing a different dress tonight, blue instead of red, saving the red one for Chad, probably. Of course, dear, Margaret continues, though I do wonder about long-term security in such manual labor. Jenny, sitting across from me, tries to hide a smirk. She's always been the rebel of the family, the one who dropped out of college to find herself and ended up slinging coffee for hipsters downtown. Tonight she looks particularly attractive in a way I've never let myself notice before. Actually, I say, I've been thinking about expanding my horizons lately, exploring new opportunities. Richard perks up. Oh, thinking about going back to school? There are excellent community college programs for more like personal growth, I interrupt. Reconnecting with old interests. Meeting new people. I pull out my phone, pretending to check a message, but actually opening the dating app. The notification sound is distinctive, a little chime that makes Lila freeze mid-chew. Sorry, I say, waving the phone. Just got a match notification? Technology, right? The silence around the table is deafening. Lila's face goes pale, then red, then pale again. Jenny's eyes widen with interest. Richard and Margaret look confused. A match? Margaret asks. For what? Dating app, I explain cheerfully. Figured it was time to get back out there. Lila and I have been growing apart lately. Different interests, you know? Jenny nearly chokes on her wine. You're on a dating app? Several, actually. Amazing how many interesting people are out there when you start looking. I glance at Lila, who's gripping her fork like a weapon. Lila's been so busy with work lately, staying out until all hours. I figured she wouldn't mind if I found some companionship elsewhere. Jack, Lila says through gritted teeth, can we discuss this at home? Discuss what? I'm just being honest with your family. I take a sip of wine. In fact, I matched with someone really interesting yesterday. Someone close to home, actually. I look directly at Jenny, who nearly drops her glass. How close? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Very close, I say. Someone who understands family dynamics. Someone who might appreciate honesty in a relationship. Lila stands abruptly, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. We need to go, now. But we haven't had dessert, I protest. Margaret made her famous apple pie. Jack, now. I shrug and stand, pulling out my phone again. This time, I open Lila's messages with Chad, screenshots I took earlier, and hold the screen where only Jenny can see it. Her reaction is everything I hoped for. Her mouth drops open, her eyes dart between me and Lila, and I can practically see the wheels turning in her head. Actually, Jenny says suddenly, I should probably head out too. Early shift tomorrow. I'll walk you to your car, I offer. That's not necessary, Lila snaps. I insist, I say. Gentleman's obligation. Outside, Jenny grabs my arm the moment we're out of earshot. What the hell was that about? She demands. I show her the screenshots properly this time. Her face cycles through confusion, shock, and finally anger. That piece of trash, she mutters. Chad Hart. I know him. You do? He hit on me at Lila's company party last year. Wouldn't take no for an answer until I threatened to scream. She looks at the messages again. She's really doing this? For months, apparently. Jenny is quiet for a long moment, staring at my phone screen. Then she looks up at me with an expression I can't quite read. You know, she says, I always thought you were too good for her. Did you now? Yeah, you're real, Jack. Honest. She's always been calculating. I pocket my phone. Calculating people make mistakes when they think they're smarter than everyone else. What are you going to do? Depends, I say. How well do you know Chad Hart? Jenny's smile is sharp as a blade. Well enough to ruin him. As I drive home with a furious Lila beside me, I can't help but smile. Phase 1 is complete. The family knows something is wrong. Jenny is on my side, and Lila is scrambling to figure out how much I know. She's about to find out it's everything. Monday morning at Frawley's Auto Repair starts like any other, except I'm humming while I work. Bobby Martinez, my partner and best friend since high school, notices immediately. You're in a good mood for a Monday, he says, sliding under a Toyota Camry with suspicious enthusiasm. Win the lottery? Something like that. I'm elbow deep in a Ford engine, but my mind is elsewhere. Bobby, what do you know about Chad Hart? The motivational speaker guy? Works at that fancy ad agency downtown? That's him. Bobby rolls out from under the Toyota, wiping his hands on a rag. Why? He bring his car in? Not exactly. I explain the situation, watching Bobby's expression shift from amusement to outrage to calculating interest. Son of a gun, he mutters. Lila's really stepping out? With screenshots to prove it. What's the plan? This is why I love Bobby. No judgment, no lectures about working things out or marriage counseling. Just straight to the practical question. How do we make them pay? First, we need intelligence. Know your enemy, right? I can help with that. My cousin Maria works at Morrison & Associates. She's in accounting. Perfect. What else do you know about Chad? Bobby grins. He drives a 1967 Mustang Fastback. Cherry red, pristine condition. Treats that car better than most people treat their kids. Interesting. Also, he's got a reputation. Maria says he's hit on half the women in that office. Real smooth operator until someone tells him no. Then he gets nasty? According to Maria, yeah, real entitled attitude. I finish adjusting the Ford's timing belt and close the hood. Think Maria would be willing to share some office gossip? For the right cause? Absolutely. She never liked Chad either. By lunch, we have a plan. Bobby calls Maria, who agrees to meet us at Tony's bar after work. Tony Castellano has owned the Moose and Squirrel for 20 years, and if there's gossip in this town, it flows through his establishment like beer through a tap. The bar is exactly what you'd expect from a place called the Moose and Squirrel. Dark wood, neon beer signs, and the kind of atmosphere that encourages honest conversation. Maria is already there when we arrive, nursing a cosmopolitan and looking nervous. This is weird, she says as we sit down, talking about coworkers like this. Chad's not just a coworker, I tell her. He's actively trying to wreck my marriage. Fair point. She takes a sip of her drink. What do you want to know? Everything. His schedule, his habits, his weaknesses. Maria glances around, then leans forward conspiratorially. He's got a routine. Leaves the office every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:30. Says he's going to the gym, but Jenny from reception followed him once. He goes to the Riverside Motel. With Lila? Sometimes, but not always. There's at least 2 other women I know of. Bobby whistles low. Player. Gets worse, Maria continues. He's been bragging about this married woman he's seeing. Says her husband is some clueless mechanic who doesn't appreciate what he has. My jaw clenches, but I keep my voice steady. What else? He's paranoid about his car. Parks it in the same spot every day, away from other vehicles. Has a car cover for when it rains. The man's obsessed. Security cameras in the parking lot. A few, but they're old, and the coverage isn't great. There's a blind spot near the dumpster where he usually parks. I buy Maria another drink and Bobby a beer while I nurse a club soda. I need to stay sharp for what comes next. There's something else, Maria says after her second cosmopolitan. Chad's got a presentation next week. Big client, could make or break his year. He's been talking about it nonstop. What kind of client? Family restaurant chain. Very traditional, conservative values. The kind of people who wouldn't appreciate knowing their spokesperson has a reputation for sleeping around. Interesting. We part ways around 9, and Bobby drives me back to the garage to pick up my truck. The parking lot is empty except for our vehicles and the streetlight casting long shadows across the asphalt. So what's first? Bobby asks. Reconnaissance. I want to see this routine of his for myself. When? Thursday. You free around 4? For this? Absolutely. I drive home to find Lila already asleep or pretending to be. Either way, it saves us both an awkward conversation. I slip into my workshop and spend the next 2 hours planning. By the time I finally get to bed, I have a detailed strategy mapped out. Chad Hart thinks he's playing chess with a checkers player. He's about to learn that some mechanics know more about precision than he realizes. Thursday can't come fast enough. Thursday afternoon, Bobby and I are parked across from Morrison & Associates in his beat-up Ford pickup, sharing a bag of gas station chips and pretending to read newspapers. At exactly 4:28, Chad Hart emerges from the glass office building like he owns the world. He's everything I expected and worse. Tall, artificially tanned, wearing a suit that probably costs more than most people make in a month. His hair is perfectly styled, his smile practiced, and he walks with the kind of confidence that comes from never facing real consequences. That's him? Bobby asks. That's him. Chad approaches his Mustang with the reverence of a priest approaching an altar. He walks around the entire vehicle, checking for dings or scratches, before unlocking it with a key fob that probably cost more than my first car. Man loves his ride, Bobby observes. Good to know. We follow at a distance as Chad drives through downtown traffic. He's a careful driver. No speeding, proper signals, full stops at stop signs. The kind of guy who never takes risks with his precious car but has no problem risking other people's marriages. The Riverside Motel is exactly what the name suggests, a rundown establishment by the river that rents rooms by the hour and doesn't ask questions. Chad parks in the back lot, away from the main road, and covers his car with a custom-fitted tarp. Classy, Bobby mutters. We wait. 20 minutes later, a familiar Honda Civic pulls into the lot. My stomach tightens as I watch my wife of 8 years walk toward room 12, knock twice, and disappear inside. You okay? Bobby asks. Fine. I'm not fine, but I'm focused. Anger is just fuel now, and I need to burn it efficiently. We document everything: times, license plates, room numbers. I take photos with a telephoto lens Bobby borrowed from his photography enthusiast brother. Nothing illegal, nothing that violates privacy laws, just evidence of what's already happening in public spaces. After an hour, they emerge separately. Chad first, looking smug and satisfied. Lila 10 minutes later, checking her phone and looking around nervously before getting in her car. Got what we need? Bobby asks. For phase 1. Friday morning, I implement the first strike. It's subtle, almost artistic in its simplicity. While Chad is in his morning meeting, information courtesy of Maria, I visit the Morrison & Associates parking lot with a small bag of frozen shrimp and a screwdriver. The Mustang's air intake system is a thing of beauty, really. Classic design, easy to access if you know what you're looking for. I slip a half-dozen shrimp into various crevices where they'll thaw, rot, and create an increasingly powerful stench that will be nearly impossible to locate and eliminate. Enjoy your commute, I whisper to the empty car. Phase 2 requires more finesse. I spend Saturday morning crafting a series of anonymous notes on generic stationery, using words cut from magazines like some old-fashioned ransom demand. The messages are designed to look like they're from a secret admirer, a male secret admirer. Your presentation skills make my heart race. I dream about your strong hands and confident voice. Meet me in the parking garage after your big presentation. I'll be the one who appreciates your true talents. I slip these into Chad's office mailbox, his gym locker, and under his windshield wipers over the course of several days. Each one is carefully crafted to suggest a gay stalker with inside knowledge of Chad's schedule. The beauty of this approach is Chad's own homophobia. Maria has mentioned his uncomfortable reactions to the agency's diversity initiatives and his nervous laughter whenever anyone makes jokes about masculinity. A man that insecure about his own identity will overreact to even the suggestion of unwanted male attention. By Wednesday, Maria reports that Chad is visibly agitated at work. He's looking over his shoulder constantly, asking security about building access, and making uncomfortable jokes about weirdos and perverts. He's rattled, she tells me during our lunch meeting at a diner across town. Keeps asking if anyone's seen suspicious people hanging around. Perfect. There's more. The car thing is driving him crazy. He's taken it to 3 different mechanics, but none of them can find the source of the smell. I smile. Shame about that. What's next? The big presentation is Friday, right? Yeah, Hartwell Family Restaurants. Conservative outfit from upstate. Then Friday is when everything comes together. That evening, I have dinner with Jenny at a quiet restaurant outside town. She's been feeding me information about Chad's habits and schedule, and in return, I've been sharing my plans for revenge. You're really going through with this? She asks over dessert. He's been bragging about sleeping with my wife while calling me a clueless grease monkey. Yeah, I'm going through with it. What about Lila? What about her? Are you going to confront her? I consider this. Eventually, but first, I want to remove her boyfriend from the equation. Jenny smiles. You know, I never liked him. Even before I knew about this, there was something slimy about Chad Hart. You mentioned he hit on you. Among others, the man thinks he's irresistible. She pauses. He's going to learn differently. Friday morning arrives with unseasonable warmth and clear skies. Perfect weather for a public humiliation. I call in sick to work, much to Bobby's amusement, and position myself in the coffee shop across from Morrison & Associates with a clear view of the parking lot. Chad arrives at his usual time, but something's different. He's more paranoid, checking his car obsessively, looking around nervously. The smell issue has clearly gotten worse, and the anonymous notes have him jumping at shadows. At 2 p.m, a black sedan with upstate plates pulls into the visitor parking. 3 people in conservative business attire emerge. 2 men in their 50s and a woman about the same age. The Hartwell family restaurant executives right on schedule. I finish my coffee, pay my bill, and walk across the street. It's time for the final act of this particular drama. The lobby of Morrison & Associates is all glass and chrome, designed to impress clients with its modern sophistication. I walk in, wearing my best khakis and a button-down shirt. carrying a clipboard and trying to look like I belong. The receptionist, a young woman named Ashley who recognizes me from company parties, looks surprised. "Jack, what are you doing here?" "Lila asked me to drop something off." I lie smoothly. "Important documents for the big presentation." "Oh, okay. They're in conference room A. Down the hall, last door on the right." "Thanks." I make my way through the office, nodding at employees who recognize me. The conference room has glass walls, giving me a perfect view of the proceedings inside. Chad is at the head of the table, gesturing enthusiastically at a presentation screen. The Hartwell executives sit stiffly, looking politely interested, but not entirely convinced. Lila is there too, taking notes and occasionally adding comments. She looks professional and competent, the perfect advertising executive. It almost makes me feel guilty about what I'm about to do. Almost. I wait until Chad is in full presentation mode, his back to the glass wall, before I knock on the door. "Sorry to interrupt," I say, poking my head in. "I have an urgent message for Mr. Hart." Chad turns, his face cycling through confusion and annoyance. "I'm in the middle of a presentation." "I understand, sir, but this seemed important." I hand him one of my prepared notes, this one written in block letters on pink stationery. "The gentleman said it was urgent." Chad takes the note, and I watch his face change as he reads it. The color drains from his cheeks. His hands start to shake slightly, and he glances nervously at the Hartwell executives. "What gentleman?" he asks. "Tall guy, dark hair. Said he's been trying to reach you all week. Seemed very enthusiastic about your presentation skills." The Hartwell executives exchange glances. The older man, who introduced himself as Robert Hartwell Sr., leans forward with interest. "Is everything all right, Mr. Hart?" he asks. "Yes, of course, just a misunderstanding." Chad crumples the note and tries to regain his composure. "Where were we?" "You were explaining your target demographic analysis," the woman says. Chad continues his presentation, but he's rattled. He stumbles over words, loses his place in his notes, and keeps glancing at the door as if expecting his imaginary stalker to burst in at any moment. I slip out of the building and position myself in the parking lot, waiting for the meeting to end. 20 minutes later, the executives emerge, looking less than impressed. They shake hands with Chad and Lila, exchange business cards, and drive away without the enthusiasm you'd expect from people who just heard a winning pitch. Chad waits until they're gone before storming toward his Mustang, Lila trailing behind him. "What the hell was that about?" she demands. "Nothing. Just some weirdo who's been bothering me." "A stalker? Chad, if someone's threatening you?" "It's not a threat. It's just some guy with a crush or something. I can handle it." They reach his car, and Chad pulls off the cover with angry, jerky movements. The smell hits them immediately, a wave of rotting seafood that makes Lila step back and cover her nose. "God, what is that?" "I don't know. I've had it checked 3 times, and no one can find anything wrong." Chad gets in the car, starts the engine, and immediately starts gagging. The heating system circulates the stench throughout the interior, making it nearly unbearable. "I can't ride in that," Lila says. "I'll take my own car." "Fine, I'll call you later." Chad drives away with his windows down, leaving Lila standing alone in the parking lot. She looks frustrated and confused, checking her phone and shaking her head. I wait until she's gone before approaching Chad's usual parking spot. There, scattered on the asphalt, are the remains of his crumpled note and several others that must have fallen from his pockets. Mission accomplished. That evening, Maria calls with an update. "The Hartwell people left without signing anything," she reports. Word is they were concerned about Mr. Hart's professionalism and wanted to reassess their options. Shame. Chad's been in his office all afternoon with the door closed. His assistant says he's making phone calls to security companies. Paranoid? Completely. He's convinced someone is stalking him, but he can't figure out who or why. I thank Maria and hang up, feeling satisfied but not finished. Chad's professional reputation has taken a hit, his car is uninhabitable, and his confidence is shattered. But he's still sleeping with my wife, and that needs to stop. Time for Phase 3. Saturday morning, I wake up before dawn with a sense of purpose I haven't felt in months. Today is the day everything comes together. Lila is still asleep beside me, probably exhausted from another late night working with Chad. She has no idea that her world is about to change forever. I slip out of bed, get dressed quietly, and head to the garage. Bobby is already there, along with Jenny and Maria. We've been planning this moment for 2 weeks, and everyone knows their role. "You sure about this?" Bobby asks. "Once we do this, there's no going back." "I'm sure." Jenny hands me a manila envelope thick with photographs, printed emails, and bank statements. "Everything you need is in there. times, dates, locations, expenses. The motel manager was very cooperative once I explained the situation, Maria adds. Turns out Chad's been stiffing them on bills. They were happy to provide records. I review the contents one more time. It's devastating, comprehensive, and completely legal. Chad Hart is about to discover that underestimating a mechanic was the biggest mistake of his life. What about the car? Bobby asks. I smile and pull a small device from my toolbox. GPS tracker. I've been monitoring his movements for a week. He's at the gym right now, follows the same routine every Saturday. We have exactly 90 minutes. We drive to Chad's apartment complex in 2 vehicles. It's an upscale development with a gated entrance, but Jenny has the access code, another gift from her coffee shop connections. Amazing how many secrets people share with their barista. Chad's Mustang is parked in his assigned spot, still reeking of rotting shrimp. I pop the hood while Bobby keeps watch and Jenny documents everything with her camera. The beauty of being a mechanic is understanding how machines work, and how to make them not work. I don't want to cause an accident or hurt anyone, just create maximum embarrassment at minimum risk. I disconnect the alternator belt, loosen the radiator cap just enough to cause a slow leak, and adjust the idle mixture to make the engine run rough. Nothing dangerous, nothing permanent, but guaranteed to leave Chad stranded at the worst possible moment. How long before it breaks down? Jenny asks. Depends on how far he drives. Could be 10 minutes, could be an hour, but it will happen. Phase 2 requires us to split up. Bobby and Maria head to Morrison & Associates to prepare the office component of our plan. Jenny and I drive to the Riverside Motel, where the manager is waiting with a key to room 12. This is highly irregular, he says, pocketing the $50 bill I handed him. But that guy has been nothing but trouble. Rude to my staff, complains about everything, acts like he owns the place. The room is exactly what you'd expect from a cheap motel: stained carpet, mismatched furniture, and the lingering smell of industrial disinfectant. But it's also where my marriage officially ended, so it has a certain sentimental value. I set up a small digital camera in the corner, hidden behind a lamp but with a clear view of the bed. It's not for blackmail, I'm not that kind of person, but for evidence if this ever goes to court. You really think they'll show up? Jenny asks. Chad texted Lila this morning. I saw the message when she left her phone on the kitchen counter. 2 o'clock, same as always. We leave the motel and drive to our final position, the parking lot of a family restaurant across the street, where we can observe without being seen. At exactly 1:45, Chad's Mustang limps into the motel parking lot, steam rising from under the hood and the engine making concerning noises. He parks in his usual spot, gets out, and stares at his beloved car with the expression of a man watching his world collapse. Lila arrives 5 minutes later, takes one look at the smoking Mustang, and shakes her head in obvious frustration. Perfect timing, Jenny murmurs. They disappear into room 12. I check my watch and pull out my phone. Bobby, it's time. 30 minutes later, my phone rings. It's done, Bobby reports. Maria printed everything and left copies on every desk in the office. By Monday morning, everyone at Morrison & Associates will know exactly what kind of man Chad Hart really is. What about the presentation materials? Replaced his client files with some of the more interesting photos. Should make for an entertaining Monday morning meeting. I thank Bobby and hang up. Across the street, Chad and Lila emerge from the motel room. Chad tries to start his car, but it won't turn over. The alternator is gone, the radiator is empty, and the engine is running on fumes. Lila throws up her hands in exasperation, gets in her own car, and drives away, leaving Chad stranded in a seedy motel parking lot with a car that's worth more than most people's houses and about as functional as a paperweight. I start my truck and drive across the street. Need some help? I call out, rolling down my window. Chad looks up, and for a moment, he doesn't recognize me. Then his face goes pale. Jack, what are you doing here? Just driving by, saw someone having car trouble. I get out of my truck and walk over to the Mustang. Beautiful car. Shame to see it broken down like this. It just stopped working. I don't understand. I pop the hood and make a show of examining the engine. Well, there's your problem. Alternator belt's gone, radiator's empty, and your idle mixture is completely wrong. Someone who didn't know what they were doing really messed this up. Can you fix it? Oh, I could fix it, but I don't think I will. Chad straightens up, his confusion turning to suspicion. What do you mean? I pull out the manila envelope and hand it to him. I mean, I know about you and my wife. I know about the motel, the restaurants, the lies, all of it. Chad opens the envelope, and I watch his face change as he flips through the contents. Photographs of him entering the motel, printouts of his text messages with Lila, credit card receipts, even a sworn statement from the motel manager detailing their regular visits. "You've been busy," he says finally. "I'm a thorough person. It's what makes me good at my job. What do you want?" "I want you to stay away from my wife." Chad laughs, but there's no humor in it. "And if I don't?" "Then Monday morning is going to be very interesting for you. See, I made copies of everything in that envelope. Your boss has one, HR has one, and I sent a particularly detailed package to the Hartwell family restaurant people. Turns out they're very interested in the moral character of their potential business partners." The color drains from Chad's face. "You can't do this." "I already did it. The question now is whether you're smart enough to walk away while you still have a career left to salvage." Chad looks at his broken car, then back at me. For the first time since this whole thing started, I see genuine fear in his eyes. "You're crazy," he says. "No, I'm just a mechanic who got tired of being taken for a fool." I get back in my truck and start the engine. "Enjoy the walk home, Chad. And remember, I know where you live, where you work, and what you drive. Don't give me a reason to get creative again." As I drive away, I can see Chad in my rearview mirror, standing alone in the motel parking lot with his broken dreams and his broken car, finally understanding that some people fight back when you push them too far. The underdog just won,